She lived in the shadow of the world, hidden between the scars of her past and the scorching heat of Tanzania. Amina didn't dream of luxury or love. All she wanted was silence and peace. Her body bore deep scars, not just visible ones, but mainly those that her soul cried out in silence. Amina, a young African girl with sad eyes and a firm posture, lived with her aunt in a village forgotten by maps, surrounded by dry hills and fields of red earth. There, it was as if time moved more slowly. The days were simple, repetitive, and lonely. Amina avoided conversations. She avoided glances. She avoided men. And there was a reason for that, a past that everyone whispered about, but no one really knew about. She's strange. She never smiles, they said at the fairs. She must have suffered a lot. And they were right. But what nobody expected was that Amina's life was about to change in a surprising way. Backhand index pointing right. If you love heartwarming stories, enjoy the video and subscribe to the channel now. We're almost at the 1,000 subscribers mark, and you can be part of that achievement by helping the channel grow. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, a plane was landing in Dar es Salaam. Newton Delacroix, a French billionaire known for his arrogance and investment empire, was getting off. Newton wasn't there for tourism. His sights were set on the profits that Tanzania's subsoil could yield, deposits of lithium, diamonds, and other valuable resources. He was accompanied by advisors, security guards, and of course, a tailored suit that cost more than the entire market in the village of Amina. Africa needs progress. And I need business, he said, with an ironic and confident tone. But fate, as unpredictable as the wind, would lead him down a path that not all his fortune could have predicted. During a diplomatic visit to the Morogoro region, Newton decided to visit a local market. The media accompanied him to record the billionaire appreciating local culture. But he only wanted photos. It was among the baskets of fruit, colorful fabrics, and handmade bracelets that he saw her for the first time. Amina. She was wearing a white scarf covering part of her face, organizing clay pots on the floor. Her deep brown eyes met Newton's for a brief second, and then she looked away. Not a smile, not a word, just silence. And that stirred him. Who is she? Newton asked one of the market traders. Amina. She lives there with her aunt. She has a dark past, but she doesn't talk much. The man replied. Newton, used to admiring glances and flattery, was puzzled. For the first time, someone was simply ignoring him. And so the obsession began. The next day, he went back to the market. He looked for her, and he found her. He tried to strike up a conversation, but Amina responded with monosyllables, or just a look. Aren't you going to ask who I am? He said, almost offended. I don't need to know the name of someone who won't be staying. Amina replied, without taking her eyes off the ceramics she was sculpting. That unsettled him. Over the next few days, Newton found excuses to return to the village. He passed by, observed, left gifts that were returned. But the more she refused him, the more he wanted to understand her. Backhand index pointing right. If this story has kept you hooked, subscribe to the channel now. Every new subscriber motivates us to keep bringing you intense and transformative stories. The goal of 1,000 subscribers is just around the corner. Come and join us. One afternoon, he saw her by a river washing fabrics with slow movements. She was alone. Newton approached her slowly. Are you afraid of me? He asked, trying to soften his tone. No, I'm afraid of men who think everything can be bought. These words cut deeper than any criticism from shareholders or newspapers. For the first time, he felt something different, shame, and perhaps admiration. There, in front of that simple woman, he understood that he was facing someone real, someone who didn't bend to power. And that for a man like him was something new. Amina wasn't invisible. She had just learned to protect herself. And Newton, without realizing it, was beginning to change. In the days that followed, Newton visited the village frequently. Contrary to what he usually did, he left the security guards outside the village. He wanted to appear more human, more approachable. But every time he tried to talk to Djamila, she backed away. She wasn't ready. The past still weighed like invisible chains on her shoulders. One afternoon, Newton saw her sitting in the shade of a tree, carving small figures in wood. He approached her slowly, sat down on the ground, and said, quietly, "Do you carve what you feel?" She stopped. She looked at the wood, then at him. "I carve what I can't say out loud." That answer echoed in Newton's mind. It wasn't just sadness, it was resistance. Djamila had learned to survive on her own, and that made her different from all the women he had met. Backhand index pointing right if this story is moving you. Take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel now. We're very close to reaching our target of 1,000 subscribers, and your support makes all the difference. That same week, he returned with a gift, a blank notebook. "For you to write down what you don't want to say out loud," he said, leaving the notebook beside her and leaving without waiting for a reply. Djamila held the notebook. No one had ever given her something so symbolic. That night, she wrote for the first time, "I'm still afraid, but maybe I'm ready to listen." A few weeks passed. Djamila and Newton were able to talk more naturally. She was still reserved, but the glances between them carried something new, a kind of silent respect and a growing curiosity. One afternoon, during a walk to the river, Djamila sat at the water's edge, looking at the reflection of the sky. "Do you know why I come here?" she asked. Newton shook his head. "Because this is where I said goodbye to my childhood, and where I began to rebuild who I am." She then told her story in detail. It was there that Newton learned about the attempted forced marriage, the beatings, her mother's death, and her escape into the darkness. She didn't cry as she told it, but her voice carried the weight of someone who has cried enough. "I promised never to trust any man again, and so far I've kept that promise." Newton bowed his head. It wasn't about him, it was about her wounds. "So don't promise me anything," she continued. "Just be here. Just listen to me." And he did. Backhand index pointing, right? If you've made it this far, it's because this story has touched you. So take advantage and click on the subscribe button. Your subscription will help us grow and reach our target of 1,000 subscribers. The next day, something unexpected happened. A French newspaper published a sensationalist story. Billionaire gets involved with mysterious woman in African village. The news went viral. Photos of Newton in the village were released without permission. Men in the village started whispering. Some women distanced themselves from Djamila, and her own aunt, her eyes full of fear, said, "You're exposing yourself." And powerful men don't accept powerful women. Djamila was shocked. For the first time, she felt ashamed not of her past, but of her attempt to open up. Newton tried to explain himself, but she cut him off. "I asked you for one thing, respect, and now my life is on pages I didn't write." He tried to argue, but she understood. For the first time, he felt he could lose her, not for lack of feelings, but for not having protected her freedom. Djamila withdrew. For days, she didn't reply to messages, refused visits, and went back to hiding within the walls of her aunt's house. But now there was something different about her, a discomfort with silence. For the first time, she felt the urge to speak, to be heard. So she went to the local NGO, which offered psychological support and workshops for women in vulnerable situations. It was there that, with a trembling voice, she shared her story with other women. At first, She thought it was weakness, but when a young woman cried when she heard it and said, "You gave me courage," Djamila understood the power of her pain. Newton, for his part, was also facing his own ghosts. At a meeting with executives in the capital, he heard, "You're losing focus. A billionaire can't get involved with causes, let alone love scandals." He stood up from the table. "Maybe I'm finally focusing on what matters." Newton decided to stop business temporarily. He returned to the village, but didn't seek out Djamila immediately. Instead, he discreetly helped the NGO, financed a new community center, and offered scholarships to young people in the area. It was Djamila's aunt who commented curiously, "That Frenchman is different. He doesn't come to see you anymore, but he's here for you." Hearing that, something stirred in her heart. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, trust wasn't a weakness. The following week, Djamila looked for him. She found Newton alone, helping to carry boxes at the community center. When he saw her, he stopped immediately. "I needed to tell you something," she began. "You made a mistake, but you didn't run away, and that's more than most." She took a deep breath. "I don't want to be saved, but I want someone to walk beside me." Newton smiled, touched, and without promising anything grand, he simply said, "Then let's walk, one step at a time." The relationship between Djamila and Newton was beginning to take root. Still timid but real, they started walking together at local fairs, exchanging books, laughing at silly things. Newton was no longer the arrogant billionaire, and Djamila began to see that there was beauty even in trusting again. But peace doesn't last long when the world is watching. One morning, Djamila was surprised by a team of journalists at the NGO's door. A European tabloid had published a scandalous article with the headline, "French Tycoon Gets Involved with Mysterious African Woman and Puts Fortune at Risk." The article said that Djamila had enchanted Newton in order to benefit herself, that she was using a victim discourse to manipulate public opinion. Photos of her in private moments with Newton were featured on international websites. She froze. She felt the same sensation as when she fled her forced marriage: fear, shame, powerlessness. "They won't stop, Auntie. They'll destroy everything," she said, her voice breaking. Newton tried to act quickly. He published an official statement saying that the information was false, that he respected Djamila, and that his relationship with Tanzania went beyond business. But the damage had already been done. The village started talking about her again. The NGO had its name associated with the scandal, and even with all the support she was now receiving, Djamila felt she was back where she started, being singled out, judged, hurt. Then she disappeared. She closed her room for 2 days. She didn't answer anyone, not even to her aunt, not even to Newton. Then, on the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. One of the NGO's girls, little Hadia, just 14 years old, orphaned and shy, knocked on the door with a handwritten note. "If you give up, who will show us that you can win even with a scar?" Djamila cried, but not from fear, of strength. The next day, she showed up at the NGO's headquarters. She was wearing a blue turban, a yellow blouse, and a firm expression on her face. "I didn't come to please the world. I came to change it, even if it's just my world." She organized a press conference. There, in front of cameras and microphones, she told her story. Without fear, without embellishments. "I don't want them to like me. I want them to listen to the women who have no voice." And then, looking directly at Newton in the audience, she said, "You heard me before you looked at me, and that's why I'm here." He stood up, walked to the stage, picked up the microphone, and finished. "And I'm still here, not as a hero, but as an apprentice." The audience gave him a standing ovation. It was no longer about scandal. It was about power, about rebirth. After the press conference, something changed not only in Djamila's public image, but in the hearts of everyone who listened to her. The repercussions were enormous. Women from various African countries started sending messages to the NGO, sharing their stories, asking for help, or simply thanking someone for having the courage to speak out. Djamila has become a symbol, but more than that, she became a beacon of hope. The once small NGO began to receive donations from all over the world. Newton used her contacts to expand the project, but made it clear that the leadership was hers. This work was born out of your pain, transformed into action. I just want to be the support you deserve. The community has also changed. Those who used to judge her now listen to her. Many of the men in the village have started to attend discussions about violence and masculinity, something that was unthinkable just a few months ago. And what about the love between Djamila and Newton? They chose to walk slowly. No rings, promises, or fairy tales. They were two different worlds, but with the same desire to create something real. One late afternoon, as the sun tinted the village palm trees golden, Djamila said something that marked Newton forever. "You didn't save me, and I thank you for that, because if you had saved me, I might never have discovered that I could save myself." He smiled and replied, "But can I still walk with you?" "Yes, but know this, my road is made up of thorns and flowers. Then we'll walk slowly, and holding hands." Backhand index pointing, right? If you've made it this far, it's because this story has touched you in some way. So, how about giving something back? Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach the 1,000 subscribers milestone. Your support makes all the difference, Yellowheart.